What up, beautiful human beings? Welcome back to another video. I spent a couple of hours just now sitting in and out of meditation. I was asking, if I was to make a video today, what would I want to talk about? Just asking myself, sitting there. What came through was talking about spirituality and talking about the journey or the path of self-inquiry or enlightenment. And how much of a wildly unpredictable path it is to take, which is probably why most people don't walk this path. It's the road less traveled, the deeper inquiry, basically, into the meaning of life. Like, what's this all about? Who am I? What's the meaning of all of this? What's my purpose in my existence? And these kind of questions, it's not necessarily about finding an answer to these questions, but in asking these questions, they're going to take us on a journey, because we're going to find something. Whatever it is we're looking for, we're going to find it. When we're asking these questions around meaning and what's the purpose of this life, what's the purpose of my suffering, of everything that's going on in the world, and what my part is to play in this whole narrative, if you go digging for those answers, you're going to find some interesting stuff. And the whole idea is that it does change you. It transforms you in a way. So if I'm asking myself the question, who am I? This is a very triggering question for most people to ask, because they're like, well, what a silly question. I can tell you who I am. I'm Benjamin. I'm a YouTuber. I'm an artist. I love nature. And I used to do kayaking. And I'm a man. And I'm from England. Essential components in understanding the story. So if I was to change your name, you'd still be the same person. So you're not your name. Just like initial self-inquiry around who am I? You're not your name, you're not your body, you're not your mind, you're not your thoughts, you're not your story. You're not the nation that you were born in. You're not the religion that you grew up with. So when we're asking a question like, who am I? Mostly what you're going to find is like, not that, 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 rather than going straight to like, oh, that's what I am. If you really go deep into the question and ask it multiple times with a level of devotion to finding the truth within that, it's like a stripping of the layers of identity that we've created. Oh, I really thought I was my body. I really thought that I was Benjamin. I didn't even know that there was any other option. Everybody's been calling me Benjamin this whole time. A stripping away of previous identities, which is not necessarily a fun process for the ego, because what all of this is coming down to is like, it's like, who am I? And so the ego pops up and is like, this is who you are. And then you realize that's a story as you strip it back, and the ego kind of gains less power, and there's almost like a phase of like deflation where it's like, well, fuck, who am I then if I'm not my successes? In my life, I've had a bunch of success, and I was incredibly highly driven and motivated to be successful with whatever success felt like to me in that moment, in that year of my life. And I've had a lot of W's in my life, basically, and the work that's gone into that has been a lot. Like, I became world champion at kayaking. Like, I can't believe, I don't know who that Ben was, but like, he was fucking devoted to becoming a world champion, and that's what he did eventually. I'm like, whoa, where was the willpower and the determination that I had at that time? I was tapped into some kind of deep determination to achieve success. And so when I discovered that I'm not my success either, I was like, oh, fuck. I had this realization like, oh, wow, I was really riding that success. I was really riding that like reputation for being someone who is like world class at what they do. And there was an element definitely of superiority in my ego complex at that time around, because I'm achieving high things, I had like a sneaky subconscious probably feeling of superiority, of being better than other people. And actually, now that I even say that, it was actually more like when I was feeling good about myself through my achievements and my success, I was alleviated from the feeling that I wasn't good enough. Ooh. So then I got the fucking successes going and I felt great about myself. But then, of course, that's not actually who I am. So as soon as I failed at something, my whole ego and my whole personality and my whole sense of self, my whole identity went down with it. So I had to keep nailing it. Now, here's an important piece. The identity that I've formulated for myself has been based predominantly on my external reality. It's like I'm being who I think people want me to be, or I'm doing what I think people want me to do, and I'm gaining success in order to feel good about myself. So that's coming from the outside, because then as soon as I fail at that, feel like I'm a failure as well. There's really no need to feel like you're fully a failure, because the part of you that is completely disidentified with anything that you're experiencing in this lifetime or any others knows that that's not actually who you are. So what had to happen and what's necessary in the spiritual journey is we have to go inwards and we have to understand and gather and create and reveal even who we actually are from the inside outwards, to know ourselves from the inside outwards. Now, if you're someone who's like highly sensitive to other people's energies and can feel when someone doesn't like you or when someone likes you, like empathic and sensitive, if you're someone like that, it's most likely firstly, it's a skill to be able to read energy like that. That is a skill that you've acquired over probably many, many lifetimes and then needed to deploy in whatever environment you grew up in to tune into how everybody else is feeling, because maybe there was a bit of a chaotic environment and you don't cause any more chaos. Like you're almost like a walking peacekeeper in the space. That means you're very highly tuned into what other people are thinking. So that's us developing throughout our childhood and throughout our lives this idea of who we are from the outside in. So we're checking with everybody else to see who we're being, yet we need to flip it. Now we need to go inwards and say, okay, now I'm going to cultivate a sense of identity and a sense of self from the inside outwards. And that's much more powerful, because then we don't rely on an external environment or how other people are thinking, how they feel about us. We're not relying on the external environment for our sense of self-worth and our power. So the spiritual path is empowering. It's empowering. It will strip you of all that you're not, and it will reveal the ego, and the ego will teach us through fear. And then we learn after a while that, yeah, the darkness has its teachings, and mostly it's to go through them to come back into the light. Higher, more powerful realms of vibrational frequency through our mind, through our body, through our spirit, and through our emotions. So this vessel that we are gifted with, spiritually looking at the vessel that we've been gifted with, this beautiful body that's part of the earth, we're like, okay, let's get to know the body a little bit on a deeper level as well. Like, what am I made out of? The same stuff as the earth. I breathe the air, I eat the food, I drink the water, I receive the sunlight, and the whole thing just works in this incredible, miraculous, like unfolding of divine creation all around. And I'm a part of that through my experience, my temporary experience of being a human being. And it is an absolute blessing and a miracle to even have the experience of being a human being. There are so few opportunities for you as a soul, not just your ego and your story, but your higher self, those deeper layers of who you truly are, is so grateful for any kind of opportunity to have a learning experience here on Earth as a human being. And so I'd never thought about these things before. I'd never thought in such an expanded way before. I'd just never come across any kind of, or been called to or drawn towards any kind of spiritual teachings, or I was an atheist, like rejected religion and rejected God, and really was rejecting other people who seemed a bit off to me, trying to tell me how to experience infinity. I'm like, something doesn't add up here. So rejected religion as an atheist also found that to be incredibly painful, because it also lacked meaning. It lacked like a deeper meaning in life. It's like, oh, this is all just an accident and we just happen to be here. It's like, wow, that's one way of looking at the world. But really I was also looking at it through another lens of just like awe and wonder, fully committed to exploring this life and taking hold of all of the opportunities that come my way, and to be on a big adventure, because that's what my soul feels called towards doing. And that's not for everybody. We all feel called to all our different experiences in this lifetime, what your soul has come here to experience. But there's nothing more painful than being disconnected from, firstly, the truth of who we are, our soul, and just being caught up in the ego and its fear and its melodramas and its perpetuating cycles of pain. And to let go of that step by step, layer by layer, piece by piece, gently, with compassion and forgiveness, which are all aspects of our higher self, the best version of ourself. You know how to be compassionate and forgiving. It's part of your essence, it's your nature. And so when you are doing that, you are acting on behalf of and integrated with your higher self, which is connected directly to your soul, which is connected directly to source, to God, to love, to the universe, however you want to frame it. There are levels. And so we can get caught in the pain of the ego and have that experience, and the soul is like, yeah, give me all of those juicy human experiences. I'm here for it all, because I know that at some point as a soul, I'm going to evolve to a place of enlightenment, and it might take 10 lifetimes, it might take 10,000 lifetimes, but it's inevitable. We're all going to that place at some point. So why not surrender? Which is a word that comes up all the time. It's like, let go, surrender. How do I do that? It's like, well, it's not really a doing. It's the opposite of doing. And it's being. It's just allowing yourself to be in full acceptance of everything exactly how it is. I think that's spiritually empowered. That position is to just be like, I'm not going to reject anything, actually, including my uncomfortable emotions, even though I've become a master at avoiding those and numbing myself from the deeper aspects of my heart and the grief that can reside there, and the sadness and the feeling of like overwhelm of just how big reality is and how big life can be. And we can't figure out all of these things with the mind. We have to feel them out and hand them over to the heart. And the heart is connected to the higher self. The heart is connected to the soul. This is where we have a whole nother lens of perception, that we can perceive life through our heart energy. And we can give and receive from this space. We can breathe into this space. We can expand this space. Whenever we feel like we're like caught up in our minds, we can take a few deep breaths, calm ourselves back down into the present moment, ground our consciousness into our physical bodies. And it's harder to do that when we don't feel safe to be in our physical bodies, when we don't feel like we can handle the energy, the emotions. Sometimes they're so big and they're so frightening, and I'm not very good at letting go because I want to control everything, because I'm used to it being in this state of like false illusory control with my ego. So I want to try and control my emotions too, but actually the higher self and the soul is like, bro, just let go, let it go, let it release, let it move through you. It's just energy moving through your physical body. There's nothing to be scared of with it, except for the ego gets scared, because it's like, fuck. The ego knows that if we feel these emotions if we release them, then we're also releasing the patterns that are attached to those emotions, which the ego loves to identify with and get caught up with, because it feels like the repetition and the familiarity is safe, even though it's actually painful. So the false sort of ego idea that we're safe doing the same thing over and over and staying in this comfort zone, the comfort will actually kill us in the end. So we have to, from the inside out, take a few leaps of faith into the unknown, let go and fully feel our feelings. And that's the hardest thing. Some of the hardest things I've ever had to do is actually fully surrender to my feelings. But when I do, it just feels like the biggest burden has been put down, and it's the most human thing we can do. To feel your shame, to feel your guilt, to feel any like anger and rage, disappointment, frustration, confusion, to be in that experience is what your soul came here to experience, because there's teachings in that. What's it teaching you? Like, is that how you want to feel? Because in the end, once we expand our awareness into these realms of self-awareness, you can't avoid the fact that with self-awareness comes self-responsibility, because it's like, oh fuck, I've been doing that this whole time. My ego's caught onto this story about how I'm the victim here. But eventually I'm like, okay, yeah, there was like some kind of exchange, and I have to take full responsibility for my role and my part to play in it, if I'm to fully empower myself to alchemize it and to receive that which is good from the situation, if for no other reason than our own inner peace and tranquility, that we can just let the past go, especially the parts that trigger a painful wound within us, to go into that wound. The healing is in the pain. That's the fucking hard part about it all. And it gets easier. It gets easier, I promise. But whatever you're feeling, whatever anxiety that you're feeling, just ask that anxiety what really wants to be felt underneath here. Go into it. Put the phone down. Put the comforts down for a moment. Maybe even take a day off of eating food. That really helps me to feel the feelings that have been repressed recently. Cut food out. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I was definitely snacking quite often to actually comfort myself from the discomfort of these emotions. And so cut that out, and then voila, emotions come up. You're not hangry. You don't need to eat. You need to feel your emotions. You need to feel your feelings. That's what hangry is. Fast and get hangry, and then feel the angry. Feel that anger. Release it safely. The most wonderful spaces are available for us to release, to go in and recognize and feel and let go of the strings that we're holding on to, the threads of the past that it's no longer relevant for us. We can let it go. We can grieve the loss of it, and we can release it. And in the process of that, we may also find that we get really clear on what it is that we're going to be doing next, the next step, what's being asked of us. Because in the clearing of the clutter of the old past stories, it creates this space for this new level of guidance. We can actually hear now what the body's trying to say, because what the body was saying before is like, feel this, please feel this emotion, so that we can let it go, and we can let the pattern go, and we can let the cycle go, and let the identity go, so that we can create this space for the next version of you to express through. And it might not be that different, it might be massively different, it might be very subtle. Some people might not notice, some people will be like, wow, you've really changed. And you're like, you can say to them, well, we're meant to, the flower is meant to blossom and open, and the caterpillar does turn into the butterfly, and the phoenix does rise from the mother freaking ashes, and that's natural, that's life, that's part of it. Everything that is around you, the whole universe is backing you. It's like, yes, Go, you've got this. You have everything you need right now to take that next step, whatever that might look like. And let's circle it back and finish it off around this spiritual piece, because the level of enthusiasm that I feel and the passion and the drive and the inspiration that I get, that comes from a source that is not my ego. It comes from a place that is tuned into higher dimensions of consciousness that has nothing to do with identity, the story around Benjamin, or anything like that. And it feels like a higher, more powerful frequency and vibration is coming through, and it feels healing. It feels like a lot of my neediness kind of washes away. It feels like I'm opening to receive more of what is waiting for me in each moment, including my internal guidance system, the pathless path. We carry on walking it, and we learn as we go, and we develop skills around mindfulness, around our breath, around our physical body, around energetics, spirituality, and these tools empower us to live a more meaningful life, in my experience. And the cool thing is, guys, I ain't the first person, turns out, to do this kind of work. It's been done since the dawn of time. This is not everybody's path. This is not everybody's path in this lifetime. And if you resonate with it, cool. If not, don't worry about it. Maybe you will in the future, maybe not. Trust that everything's perfect, just the way it is. Even the chaos, even the madness. And that comes from a higher spiritual understanding. It's like, okay, I can zoom out and I can see that Earth is an incredible school, and everybody's here on their different paths, and they're learning their perfectly perfect different lessons, and we're all intertwined into it in some way or another. And I can see it from a zoomed out higher perspective of whoa, perfect. That's wild. This place is perfect. Nothing needs improving upon other than our seemingly critical disconnection from God and spirit and ourselves, our true selves, our truest hearts. So through this dark time that you, me, everybody might be moving through, if you can relate to that, this is a process of revealing who we truly are. It's a process of pushing the ego and its stories and its patterns and its pain to the point where it can't carry on, so that it can let it go and alchemize it and be reborn. So if you're looking for support with any kind of aspects of your human journey right now, whether it's spiritual growth or physical healing, maybe it's mental health challenges and opportunities, or maybe it's emotional intelligence and getting to know the emotions that make us so human. If you're interested in receiving support around this, I do one-on-one coaching and work with people. You can just drop in for a one-off session if you want to, or you can book in with me for a full 3 or 6 month program. I also do group coaching containers called The Shift, where we go on a 6-week journey with 6 people, and we dive into specifically what it is that you want to shift in your life, to shift across timelines, to begin to tap into the powerful creator spirit within and make the positive changes that you know you need to make in your life, with support from other people, being witnessed and held accountable by other people, and being the witness for the group as well. Everybody brings so much into these containers. It's so much fun to do this kind of work in a group, and it's my favorite thing at the moment, actually, is doing these shift containers. And if you're interested in coming down to Cape Town and doing a retreat with us, I want you to head on over to guyandsouls.com, link in the description, put your email address in the subscription bar, and we'll send you a newsletter around the retreats and the nature reconnection adventures that we're going to be hosting. Leonie and I are going to be hosting down here in South Africa, in Cape Town. So excited to go hiking with you guys. So excited to get into ceremony and drink cacao around a fire and go camping and just really disconnect. There's going to be digital detox options on these retreats as well, if you're interested in that. So get on over to guyandsouls.com. This is the new business that Leonie and I are launching, doing retreats down here. I'm so excited about that. And if you're interested in coaching, slide into my DMs on Instagram at Benjam, or go on over to my website linked in the description. Go to the coaching tab, fill out the form, and I will be so honored to serve and support you. I hope that you guys are finding yourselves more often than not in alignment with love. I hope you're feeling peaceful. I hope you're feeling courageous. I hope you're feeling filled with inspiration. And I love you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.